Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. I am so excited to jump into this with you today because we are skipping all the long-winded theories and cutting straight to something completely fascinating, the actual literal architecture of a long, healthy life. What does it really take to hit 100? Well, when you strip away all the noise, the truth is that the architecture of longevity isn't actually all that complicated. In fact, it's beautifully, almost surprisingly, simple.
Right off the bat, I want you to ask yourself a question. Do you really need to drop thousands of dollars on expensive biohacking routines or, those insanely pricey supplements flooding our social media feeds to live a long time? Well, today we are going to totally debunk that myth. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The real key to living a long life is actually kind of boring. But as we'll see, that boredom, it is absolutely brilliant. It's the golden ticket. To see exactly what I mean, let's start with a medical mystery that completely baffled a whole team of doctors. This is the story of a 90-year-old gentleman from China who we'll call Mr. Chu. Recently, Mr. Chu was hospitalized for pneumonia. Now, obviously, catching pneumonia at 90 years old is a very serious deal. But when his doctors, and specifically the head of clinical nutrition, started actually looking at his charts, they were literally stunned. What blew their minds was his baseline health. Despite being 90 and fighting off a major respiratory infection, his underlying physical condition was basically a medical anomaly. Just look at these numbers. His blood pressure was sitting at a perfect 120/70. His blood sugar, normal. Blood lipids, completely normal. And his weight was holding incredibly steady at 68 kilograms. Honestly, these are absolute, textbook perfect vitals that would make most people in their 20s or 30s incredibly jealous. So what was the guy's secret? There were no magic mushrooms, no expensive ginseng extracts. The secret was sheer unwavering, rock-solid discipline. It's wild to think about the stark contrast between how we live today and how Mr. Chu lives. On one side, you've got our modern diet culture, right? We're constantly switching up meals, hyper-focusing on counting calories, stressing over whatever the latest fad diet is, and just chugging supplements to fix our exhaustion. But then on the other side, you have Mr. Chu's routine, a routine that is so incredibly strict and repetitive that, let's be real, a lot of us would probably find it insanely monotonous. But it's exactly this strict discipline that builds his daily rhythm. Check out his exact schedule. This repeats perfectly, day after day, decade after decade. At exactly 7 a.m., he eats porridge. At exactly 12 p.m., he has rice with 1 meat and 1 vegetable. And at 6 p.m., he eats the leftovers from lunch. That is the whole shebang. No snacks in between, 0 sodas, just water. And while that might sound super boring to us, medical science absolutely loves it. Eating at the exact same times every single day acts like a perfectly tuned clock for your body's circadian rhythm. It flawlessly regulates your hunger signals, balances your insulin, and stabilizes your digestive enzymes. Instead of forcing his metabolism to constantly adapt to chaotic eating habits, Mr. Chu basically gave his body a stress-free, smoothly running engine.
So clearly, routine really matters. And that brings us to Section 1, Blue Zone Secrets, the diet. Let's look at how the rest of the world does this.
If we step outside of China and look at the global blue zones, those specific regions where people are known to live remarkably long, healthy lives, we see that exact same disciplined approach. Have you ever heard of the 80% rule? In Okinawa, Japan, they follow a famous philosophy called hara hachibu. Simply put, it means you stop eating when your stomach is exactly 80% full. You still fully enjoy your food, but you intentionally hit the brakes before you feel heavy or stuffed. This mirrors Mr. Chu's disciplined portion control perfectly. It's all about knowing your limits and actively giving your digestive system a break.
But of course, it's not just about how much they eat. It's about what they're putting into their bodies. Traditional Japanese culture treats whole, original foods basically as preventative medicine. And the craziest part, the ingredients aren't some rare, expensive things you have to special order. They're everyday staples. We're talking purple sweet potatoes, which are absolute powerhouses for heart health. Fermented miso soup, which is packed with probiotics for an iron-clad gut. White radishes loaded with vitamin C, seaweed for fantastic fiber, and fatty fish, delivering a heavy dose of anti-inflammatory omega-3s. These are ordinary foods providing extraordinary benefits. And if we zoom out to the macro view of their diet across all blue zones, the intake is overwhelmingly plant-based. We're talking 95% of their daily intake coming from beans, greens, and nuts. What about meat, eggs, and dairy? A tiny 5%. In fact, they usually eat meat maybe twice a week at most, and when they do, it's treated as a side dish, just for flavor, definitely not the main event of the meal. This massive reliance on plants is literally a universal pillar of longevity.
Okay, so we've got the food down. That brings us to section 2, movement, consistency over intensity.
So, how do we keep our bodies agile without burning out in expensive gyms or pushing ourselves to total exhaustion? Brace yourselves for this number: 7. Yeah, just 7. Fascinating research from Dr. Norman Swan highlights that just 7 minutes of high-intensity exercise daily provides the exact same longevity benefits as 40 minutes of moderate activity. It's short, it's highly effective, and absolutely anyone can fit it into their day. But in places like Okinawa, it's not even really about high intensity. It is purely about consistency.
Look at how this translates into a real daily habit. Since 1928, the Japanese have practiced radio taiso. It's a morning radio exercise routine. And it's incredibly simple, a 5-minute routine consisting of 13 basic stretching movements. That is literally all it takes. 5 minutes every single morning to keep your joints flexible and your blood flowing perfectly. You absolutely do not need a fancy gym membership. Consistency beats intensity, hands down, every single time.
Now, we could eat perfectly, and we could stretch every single day, but we'd still be missing a massive piece of the puzzle. Enter section 3, the invisible pillars, mind and society. The data shows that these invisible factors are just as vital as our physical health when it comes to staying sharp as we age. The first is a beautiful Japanese concept called Ikigai. Roughly translated, it means your reason to live. It's that clear, driving purpose that practically makes you jump out of bed in the morning. And get this, experts have found that maintaining an active mind by discovering and nurturing your personal Ikigai has actually been proven to add up to 7 years to your life expectancy. 7 extra years, just from having a strong sense of purpose. And then there's the undeniable power of connection. A massive study out of the University of New South Wales looked at 39,000 older adults. 39,000. That's a huge sample size. And they found that regular social interaction dramatically reduces the risk of mild cognitive impairment and dementia. That's 39,000 people, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are literally wired for community. What's really interesting, and honestly a little bit sobering, is how modern medicine views isolation. Today, medical professionals consider loneliness to be a severe health risk, completely on par with smoking cigarettes or being obese. Let that sink in. Social connection isn't just about having fun or passing the time. It is a literal lifesaver. It is preventative medicine for your brain and your heart. So the takeaway here is that we need to build mental habits just like we build our physical ones. Experts recommend 3 main things to focus on. First, keep learning and engaging with your work or your hobbies. Second, maintain weekly, meaningful connections with your friends and family. And third, crucially, learn to just let go of petty, unnecessary stress. Seriously, don't sweat the small stuff.
And this brings us perfectly right back to our 90-year-old medical anomaly, Mr. Chu. We talked about his super strict diet, but there was actually another, somewhat hidden factor in his incredible health. For 12 straight years, his son diligently prepared and brought him hot, thoughtful meals every single day. That unwavering daily act of love and family support was just as important as the nutrition in the food itself. Love, as it turns out, works actual miracles on our biology.
So when we pull all these global puzzle pieces together, from the blue zones, the top medical experts, and Mr. Chu, we get a remarkably consistent blueprint for a long, healthy life. It is all about simple, disciplined habits. It's a diet heavily focused on plants, eating at consistent times, and stopping at 80% full. It's moving your body gently but doing it daily, and it's maintaining deep community ties and a stress-free mind. True longevity isn't about extreme, complex biohacking at all. It's about quietly, consistently dedicating yourself to the most basic foundations of health, day in and day out.
So, I want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. If a long, vibrant life is really just the fruit of simple, daily persistence, what small, boring habit are you going to start today? Are you going to put your fork down when you're 80% full? Will you dedicate just 5 minutes to stretching tomorrow morning? Or maybe will you pick up the phone right now and call a family member? Just pick one. Because that one tiny action today could be the foundational brick for your very own healthy, long future. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparks some curiosity for you, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive into our next fascinating topic together.